Hey collectors, welcome to Star Wars Collected. I'm Jonathan. We are on our very last day here at Celebration, but before we go, I wanted to bring you what I thought were some of the coolest things that I saw out on the floor. I think mostly things that are collectibles, mostly things that are vendor booths, things that if you follow this channel, you're probably interested in. So we're gonna do a bit of a speed run through here. I'm gonna do a voiceover later so that it's somewhat coherent, because if I try to do it live, it's just gonna sound like madness. But these are some of my coolest things that I think I found at Star Wars Celebration. Let's start off with location. Anaheim had beautiful weather. Being right across the street from Disneyland and those parks was perfect location. The center seemed large enough, which was nice, and it was always kind of a nice walk to walk in each day. The floor is where you're gonna kind of have the hub of Star Wars, so there's always something to do. Just walking around, there's tons of vendor booths and organizations, and they have cool things to look at as well. You have things like life-size TIE fighters. Where else are you gonna see something like a life-size TIE fighter? And even, some of the vendors even have some really interesting kind of cosplay prop type things. I do marketing for Volkswagen dealerships, so it's really cool to see these out there on the floor. These actually aren't even released in the US, so this is actually the first time I've ever seen these in real life. I thought this was the coolest backpack I've ever seen. It had all these cool Rebels animations going on with it. I don't know how it works, but man, it is super cool, and this is the type of thing you see at Celebration. Some of these booths are amazingly themed. This was just to sell cell phone cases, but I wanted to hang out there all day. There's a full-size X-Wing you can get your photo taken in. It's a pretty cool opportunity. And of course the floor is where you're going to find everything from action figures to statues, sometimes high-end things, sometimes rare vintage things, not always with the best price, but sometimes some rare stuff. You have some gaming platforms out there. I have no idea how these games work, but these guys seem to, and they have some really cool setups with these 3D models incorporated into it. I thought that this spoke very much to Celebration, sort of a collaboration chalk wall with people adding their various levels of art ability to it, and some really cool stuff. And speaking of art, there's always this amazing section here with art and artists, and you can get these in prints or canvas. Just a really cool collection of different art styles, and a lot of times you can get it signed by the artists that are actually there. While we're talking about art, let's talk about this wearable art. Cosplay all over the place on the floor. Just walking around, you're going to discover some amazing costumes just walking by you, and it's an amazing place to see it all. This has to be one of the more impressive pieces. I can't believe that this is made by someone. And my Wookiee brothers, I'm always so excited to see someone as a Wookiee. What I love is that people will actually take time out of their celebration to do these cosplays and set up and perform for you, for your entertainment, and they make that sacrifice because they love it so much. And this is going to be one of the cutest moments I saw at Celebration. Little Wicket here with Chopper. One of the best ideas I've ever seen, Santa Claus the Jedi. Outside of people walking around wearing the costumes, you're also going to find people have set up these displays. I believe these are just from things like the Rebel Legion and the 501st, the different costuming groups. They'll set up these large displays. These things are incredible. The accuracy, the amount of detail, hats off to the people who make these. I love the amount of sass that Jyn Erso has right there in that mannequin. Big representation of the dark side. I think they probably do have the coolest costumes. I really enjoyed looking at this Death Trooper. I think that would be a really cool trooper for me to be someday with my height. And I gotta add some more aliens to my collection. That Mon Calamari is getting me very excited. While we're talking about costuming, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how amazing the Mandalorian experience was. This was something officially from Disney and Lucasfilm. It had tons of original props and costumes from all of the Disney Plus shows that have already been released at this point. It was perhaps the most impressive single display I've ever seen of props. I did an entire video on it, so make sure you check that out here on my channel. Also, one of the most amazing exhibits you'll ever see is the Droid Builder Room. I also did an entire walkthrough of that, so make sure you check that out. But there are dozens and dozens of R2 units and BB units and R5 units, and every single droid you can think of, someone has made it, and they've done such an amazing job. They are true artists. Anytime you have a little gap between panels or not quite sure what to do, just hitting the floor is such a great idea. You're going to see a lot of really interesting people and booths and interactions going on. It is endless entertainment. And we're going to head over here to Sideshow as kind of our first booth tour here. We love Sideshow here on the channel. Sideshow gives you a great opportunity to see some of these statues in real life. This Bark Speeder was a new reveal for that, as well as that Wrecker piece there. Also gives you a chance to see some things you have on pre-order, like that Fennec Shan, and see some things you've been thinking about, like that Boba Fett on the throne. These premium format quarter scale statues are an investment, but it is nice to be able to see them in person before you make that investment. And this C-3PO was sort of an art installation type idea, different ideas, different renditions. I love this little community inside of a giant C-3PO head. And then this piece here where C-3PO is basically piloting C-3PO. This is the new Denjarin Mandalorian bust statue. It was cool to see this in person. Retails for about $1,500 if I'm remembering properly. And this giant General Grievous, very cool details with the green pops of color. The muscles on Rey, both in her arms and her legs, are very impressive on this statue, and Kylo makes a perfect complement to it. This Season 7 Clone Wars statue has a lot of great height and motion to it. It looks like they might be re-releasing Paz Vizsla, which is great because he's gone for a fortune on the secondary market. We have another Boba Fett statue here as well, looking very cool. And my favorite piece out in this whole booth is this walker. I think this walker must be mine. I am in love with it. The new Anova has a presence. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I have a number of their pieces and we've done quite a few unboxings on here. Cool to see them in person. Some pieces are things that I've only seen online. They do a nice job with their pieces. They are quite a bit more expensive than what Anovos was selling their things for, but they are actually delivering products. And oh, look who we have here. Star Wars Replicas himself out there filming a little interview with Mark from the new Anovo. But these pieces are really cool, so I would check them out. Now over to Regal Robot, a fan favorite booth for sure for those in the know. They had their new chairs out. These chairs are actually being used on the Star Wars stage for live interviews. This Tauntaun drew a lot of attention. I saw a lot of people taking their photos with it and those photos online later. This is kind of their main coming soon cabinet. They had some cool Tusken Raider pieces. There's actually some gaffy sticks up top that I didn't get. Here are some new things from their archive collection going off of sculpts. And Max Rebo himself was kind of the big guy at the show, and this Chewbacca is just a gorgeous boy. There's also a cool statue here of the Rancor from Return of the Jedi. And these are some of their famous home decor and statue pieces over here. A lot of really cool items, some of which I have as well. And this was their Celebration exclusive, these wise monkey lizards. Over to the Hasbro booth, they have a new Black Series Vader helmet, which is a huge improvement over their original one, both in the sculpting and in the colors. It's not without its imperfections though. There is a small amount of seams there right on the front if you can see, but still a huge improvement, and I'm looking forward to getting one myself. Hasbro also showed their new HasLab project. This is the first role-playing item. It is a Black Series lightsaber for Reva from Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's got a pretty hefty price tag on it. I'm not sure if I'll be backing it or not. One thing, I thought the chrome looked very plasticky on it, and that's not something I really like. The electronics look pretty cool inside of it, but I don't really use the electronics myself. It's more of a display piece, so to be determined on this one. Hasbro's betting big on Lola, Leia's droid from Kenobi. They have a couple different electronic versions in different sizes. You'll have to check them out for yourself. And they also repainted their Black Series Stormtrooper helmet with a new mortar color. Unfortunately, they are still using the same mold that has the vents and the panels in the back. And we have Trapper Wolf here as well. Nice looking helmet, good to see it in person. Definitely something I'll be adding to my shelf. I still think this piece is probably way overpriced, but it does look really, really cool in person. It is quite massive. I love that they put it on this sort of display stand as well. Someday I'd love to add a lot of models to my collection, and Bandai Booth has a lot of cool ones. I think this display with Boba Fett on this deck is one of the coolest things I saw there. It sounds like they're going to be selling the chair and Boba, but not the rest of it. And then they also had this full-size Darth Vader, kind of how their statues look. Lego has a presence. Each one of those posters are made with little Lego pieces, very cool. Showing off some of their new and more popular models here, and I'm giving a place for people to play around. I have a lot of Gentle Giant pieces in my collection. I don't tend to buy them new because I find that they drop in value pretty quickly, but they had a lot of really cool statues there, things that I'm looking forward to picking up, most likely on the secondary market at some point. I love that they made a Bausch Leia. She's kind of hard to find from Sideshow. A Jackson, who would have guessed that? As well as some cool stuff from Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, as well as prequel stuff. We can always use some more prequel stuff, and I love to see more Padme. I love to see the Ewoks getting some love. I wish that was Wicket instead, but then we've got some Ben Kenobi here looking great, and Luke Skywalker himself. This piece I've seen quite a few times online, but in person the scale of it is actually very cool. And a little more original trilogy love here with Han, Lando, and just a generic Stormtrooper, but nice to see that stuff too. And then we have some kind of Season 7 representation here of the Clone Wars, and our man of the hour. Guys, I finally got something from the prop store. It was the free Lanyard. The prop store, if you're not familiar, sells actual, real, authentic props from Star Wars. They are very expensive, but it's the real deal. So if you ever have the opportunity to add something to your collection that is the real deal, it's a cool thing to do. Whether it's a statue or a helmet or a lightsaber, props of all different sorts, as well as papers and documentation. I thought this piece was cool because it's much smaller than I thought it would be. The female Tusken Raider. Look at these little galactic cuties. Kotobukiya has a lot of cool statues as well. I thought this little Yoda Fountain was especially cool. That'll be going on sale here later this year. And they finally rounded out the Bad Batch. Looks like Echo's a little too big, but they're gonna scale him down. That was just a prototype. EFX, I have mixed feelings about EFX. I think they have some of my favorite things, and I think they also kind of under-deliver at times. But good to see them at least showing some new stuff. I thought the weathering job on this Mandalorian helmet was pretty awful, unfortunately, and it kind of made me question their quality. Cool chrome Boba Fett helmet here. I believe this is from former celebrations. I do have their Boba Fett helmet. Trooper piece was a really cool piece. Let's see if there was some illumination in there. 332nd helmet. And this was their Celebration exclusive piece. It's the Grand Inquisitor's pen. Panels, of course, are one of the biggest parts of Celebration. Here we are at the Bad Batch panel. These cosplayers' costumes were so good that they ended up being on stage, and everyone got a big kick out of seeing them strike their poses and be in character.
Clones that were a little different than everyone else. And
we're not defective, we're enhanced.
And the excitement was very high in this room. It was a good place to be. Speaking of stages, here's Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau coming out on stage. This is the Star Wars live stage. It is a fantastic place just to hang out anytime you have a little bit of downtime. Nearly every celebrity that is at Celebration will end up on the live stage at some point. So you will have the opportunity, whether you paid for it or not, to see some of the biggest celebrities out there. But if you want to get a little bit closer to them, they do have autograph and photo opportunities available. This is kind of what that area looks like. To our left here would be where the people are actually signing. To our right, we're in actual photo booths. But you know, if you just walk through here real quick and you give a good glance, you will see a lot of celebrities. I met Ewan McGregor. That was one autograph I did this year. It was moving very quickly, but he was still nice enough to exchange pleasantries with all of us. As a professional creative director, I can't tell you what it meant to me to meet Doug Chang. Doug Chang's been a hero of mine for a long time. The way he talks about design and communicates it to people who don't work in design is like poetry to me. He is a huge inspiration of mine. I love seeing his artwork. I love the artwork that's been developed under his leadership and the designs that have come out underneath his leadership. So to meet him in person was the biggest celebrity moment for me. And I got to meet him at this amazing, very intimate, 150 people Q&A type session. And at the end, you got to go up and you could have him sign something and have your photo taken with them and exchange a couple words. And there were some other ILM artists up there whose work you would know. If you watched any of my videos going into Celebration, meeting Doug Chang was actually one of my goals. I had no idea how it might happen, but I am amazed and so grateful that it did. Now you might think that that was actually the absolute highlight of my Celebration, but the actual highlight of my Celebration was meeting you guys. I cannot believe how many of you recognized me and then had the courage to come up and talk to me and tell me how your Celebration was. It made a huge difference. You know, in 2019 in Chicago, I went to Celebration with my wife and one of our really good friends, but this one I went solo and it didn't feel like it. The community of people that have come together through this channel and just the Star Wars collecting community in general, it was amazing to meet you guys. Thank you so much for making my Celebration so special. Whether you're someone who watches the channel or whether you're a fellow content creator, it was just really nice to connect with you guys in person.
Collector's Star Wars Celebration is winding down. We are in the last hour and there is sort of a mad dash of confusion as people leave certain stages and our cosplayers are in various levels of undress and There's a whole bunch of microphone people here. It's just a crazy time. It's been a great celebration. Met so many of you, so many more than I was expecting. It just means so much to me that you guys are watching and that you had the courage to come up to me and talk to me. One last thing I wanted to sort of talk about and leave you with was I admire the courage that it takes to sort of be here, to be yourself and to do this. I walked past a number of people who were very much in character. I'm trying to think, Kira. There was a Kira that I walked past who just looked like she owned the place. And, you know, maybe that's her normal everyday, but I'm kind of guessing that it's not. And it takes courage to love something as much as we love Star Wars, to have a passion and to show it to people and be unabashed about it. Now, granted, here is a very safe place to do it, but, you know, if you're one of those people like myself who are just unabashed about their love of Star Wars and just, you know, show it off, that's what helps everyone else who is maybe a little less comfortable with that and maybe they've had some bad experiences with that. That kind of helps them do it too. So I encourage you guys to love what you love, be yourself, be bold about what it is that you like, and it's gonna reward you. It's gonna pay off. Other people around you are gonna do the same, and you're gonna live a more authentic life, and it's just gonna be worth it in the end. So that's just sort of the thoughts that are on my mind here at the end of Star Wars Celebration. Just that all of us really love something, and we're all super passionate about it, and that just makes for some of the nicest people I've ever met. Well, collectors, that's it. That is the end of Star Wars Celebration. It is officially closed. It was an amazing 4 days there, plus my time at Disney, things like that. It's crazy. I guess the next celebration is going to be in London next year in April, so not even a full year away. And we'll see. We'll see if I end up there or not. So thanks for joining me. If you guys like this video, please give me a like. If you like a video like this, please subscribe. I'm bringing new content all the time. I have a ton of unboxing and things to show you guys, to review, all these different things. So we'll see you real soon.